is Karen from the Huntley Library. Thanks for joining me for today's Teen Crafternoon. Today we're going to be making faux stained glass. So we're going to assemble some supplies and then we can get started. Okay, I've got some supplies assembled here. First and foremost, you are going to need some kind of glass or plastic, transparent, for you to make your design on. And I'm just going to take this 8.5 by 11 picture frame and use the glass from that. And then when I reassemble it, I'm not going to use this backing. I'll just put the glass directly in the frame so that light will shine through it like stained glass. So that's what I'm going to use, but you can disassemble an old picture frame, or if you just happen to have some glass panels like this, that would work. You can buy glass panels like this, like at craft stores if they have a stained glass section, or like I said, from picture frames will work, or plastic. So those are kind of your options for that. You're going to need some different colors of paint depending on what design you choose. So I have a few to choose from here. If you're going to do the sort of black leading that goes in sort of traditional stained glass, you're going to need black for that, so make sure you have black paint. And then you're going to mix some kind of clear glue with your paints in order to get them to be more transparent. So I'm going to be using Mod Podge for that, and this is the gloss Mod Podge, but you can use like Elmer's glue or school glue or some other kind of clear glue for mixing with your paints. And you can mix that about half and half when you're mixing up your colors. You'll also need a design. So one thing that I did before choosing this project was to look at different stained glass designs just on Pinterest, and I saved a bunch of those. I actually took a real stained glass class in the past, so I had done some research then about what kinds of designs there might be available. Because of the colors of paint that I chose, which was sort of arbitrary, I just kind of grabbed some colors that I liked. I decided to make some spring flowers, and I'm going to do some violets. And this is based on a design that I saw, which I sort of eyeballed and sketched out. So what I'm going to do is go over that in black marker when I transfer it to my glass. And I'm going to be using a Sharpie so that hopefully the marker will not get all over my hands. And to do that, this is kind of the fun part. I'm just going to place the glass over my design like so. Try and alter my lighting a little bit here so that it's not right. Is that better? Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Yep, you're going to place your glass over your design like so, and make sure that it's centered the way you want it. If you don't want to do the tracing part like this and you just want to draw directly onto your glass, you can do that too. I like to have things set up beforehand. So I'm just going to trace what I've got sketched out here. And since I'm going to do the black leading, this is okay because it will probably be covered up with paint, any of these trace marks that I make. The nice thing about this kind of stained glass is that there are lots of configurations that are possible, more possible, because you're not working with actual glass pieces, which is nice, and you don't have to smooth any of the rough edges or cut them out. So there's just so many good things. My previous design, I made like a Canada Goose scene, and like I altered it a little bit when I was tracing it, and my teacher was like, "You can't do that. You have to follow the pattern that you found." And I said, "Why?" And apparently there were reasons about like how you attach the pieces together and how they all fit together, and like I was just breaking all kinds of rules that I didn't even know about. So be glad that we're not doing real stained glass, because there's rules that make it work and make some things possible and some things less possible. So for the colors, I actually have a photo of the design that I used, or that I traced. So I'm gonna pull it up later on to take a look at what colors I'm gonna be using. And I think I remember that this was just like a piece at the bottom that all of the stems attached to. We'll see how accurate I got this in a minute or so. This is just a bud. As I said before, you can choose whatever design you want. I'm kind of in a spring flowers mood because all of my flowers are starting to, my spring flowers are starting to pop up. So I haven't seen violets just yet, but I do have daffodils and some kind of snowdrops, and I've already had crocuses come and go, and hyacinths are blooming right now. So there's all kinds of pretty stuff coming up in my yard. So in my design, it kind of bursts out around some of the leaves, transcend the border here that goes around. Let's see. And I traced this or I sketched it out inside the picture frame. So some of the picture frame might cover up if I go beyond where my sketching is, like over here. Some of the picture frame might cover that up. If I put it back in there. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm almost ready to paint here. Since I don't have a reference photo printed out with the colors that I'm using, I went over my design that I sketched out and I just wrote down what colors went where. In the design, a lot of these colors blend together, so it's either not actually stained glass or they have special glass that has those color variations through it. So it's going to be pretty, I think, and I will try and follow this pattern, although it's not strictly necessary. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start mixing up the paint now. I'm going to go get a couple little bowls to do that. So I will be right back. Okay, paint mixing time. So here's my Mod Podge, and I have a little spoon. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that out and pop it in a bowl here. And I'm going to start with my blue, green, and purple colors, and then add white to those as necessary. Bloop. Be sure to protect your painting area, your crafting area, while you're doing this so you don't get paint or glue all over your surface. Okay, and then I've got some purple paint, which I'm gonna shake up real quick first just to make sure that that's blended. And I'll put in a little bit like that. I got like 2 drops, 2 blobs. Here's the blue, shaking. This has a bit of a dried piece on the top, which I'm going to remove. And then we'll do a couple of drops in there. And then we'll do, whoops, the green. This is actually more of a turquoise. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to mix them together with a brush. So I'm going to get my brush wet first. You can have some water off to the side, like I do for cleaning your brushes. This is especially good when you're working with a glue paint mixture because you don't want that to dry on your brush. It'll ruin it. and it will be too stiff to paint with. So start mixing that up. And if you don't want to waste any paint, mix up the color that you're going to start with. So I guess I'm starting with turquoise. I'm going to wash my hands real quick and I'll be right back. If you're like me, then as soon as you open the paint, it's somehow all over you. So I frequently have to take breaks to wash my hands or clean up my area. Okay, so I have a turquoise area right over kind of here that I can paint in, and there's a turquoise area kind of over here. I don't really have another green, so I'm going to have to just lighten this up with white to change the lightness and darkness of it. And there's a turquoise area in here. I'm not sure what my handwriting says over here, so I'm going to put a little bit of turquoise there. And there's a little bit of turquoise over in here. Okay, and that looks like most of the turquoise. I'm reaching over to get some white paint, which I'm going to add to my turquoise mixture. Let's see. I'm going to need a spoon for that too. So I'm curious with the white if this is going to make it more opaque like it does when we paint on other surfaces. And if so, that's fine. Stained glass work comes in all kinds of different, there are all kinds of different glasses you can use. So there are more opaque glasses and more transparent or translucent ones, and we can accommodate all of these things. Okay, so now I have kind of a mint green going on here. In my design, there was more of a yellowy light green. Like it looks kind of like dried or dead grass color. It's very light, and it's quite different from this, but I don't have any yellow paint with me here, so I'm going to go with this mint color. So I'll have a cooler design, and it'll be a cool family rather than a warm family sort of mixture of colors. And I'm going to add this where the grassy green is. So there's an area over here. I got a lot of paint on my brush too. Right over in here. Right in here. And in this area too. And these larger leaves in the center are also that grassy green. There and down here. Don't worry if you're painting over some of your lines right now. You can come back. You can use a smaller brush, for instance. That would be one thing you could do to avoid kind of clobbering your lines like I'm doing in some places here. Or you're going to go back afterwards and do the black leading with the black color. So don't stress about it too much now. All right, and I really don't have a whole lot of variety of greens because there's like olives and sort of darker green too that's closer to that grass green when your grass has enough water. Mine is all garden related. All of my colors are garden related. Let's see. This one's green here. And this one's greenish here. I might do another color around that. And I think now I'm just going to decide to do whatever I want since my plan, I just don't have enough colors for my plan to come to fruition here. So be willing to change things if you have to. This becomes green up here. And you can, I'm going to blend this a little bit here where it meets the other green. I'm going to try anyway. That one might have dried out a little bit. But I can come back over with the other green and blend it some more. Okay, clean my brush and I'll switch to my blues. Where did I put that? Here's a blue. I don't want to get a whole lot of water in the paint and glue mixture. So I also have a napkin that I'm going to use to squeeze some of that extra water out. And here I'll mix up the blue a little bit. Mix, mix, mix. Okay, and I can start putting that on. So like I said, this brush is a little bit big. It's really good for mixing, so maybe I'll try my smaller brush now and see if that's a little bit better for the detail work. The answer is yes, but I am getting more brush lines with it. But I'm just going to fill in a lot of these empty places now here, since I don't have a whole lot of color options. But one thing I will do, since this is already kind of a light blue, I'm going to try and add some purple to it maybe, to darken it up, and maybe some black. I have to see what it looks like then. Experimentation will be happening shortly. And then there's that the center of the flower over here, which is supposed to be yellow, which I don't have yellow, so that will get changed a little bit. Maybe we'll do white there. Or I have gold glitter. That's my other option. So I think that's still part of the leaf. Okay, so I'm gonna pause and then add some other colors to darken my blue. I did a little mixing and I kind of got more of a gray color here. So I will use a little bit of that and see how it looks on the actual painting. Switching back to my smaller brush. And let's try some of not awful, but it's not blue. The mixing is kind of interesting, though I'm not unhappy with that part. It looks like the turquoise is kind of unmixing itself from the paint. I don't know, it's changing how it looks as it dries. So monitor your paint carefully. And if after your first drying process you see that there are spots where it's like this, really faint, you might want to go over those again with the same color or another color, just to make sure that all those areas are covered well, so you get the effect that you want when you hang it up in the light. Yeah, and then this part right here, I don't know what happened there. Blue said nope. Nope, nope, nope. Put a little bit of that, pulled some of that lighter color over there. It's looking pretty nice. Pink. Alright, I think I'm ready to tackle the flowers themselves. I've got all the leaves mostly done, depending on how they dry. And then these areas are mostly done. I've got pretty good coverage right now. Looks nice. What do you think? All right, here comes the purple. Dare I try mixing it with the tiny brush? Sure, let's see. So with the flowers, some areas of them are a darker purple and some are more of a lavender. So if I decide to make this my darker purple, then I'll have to add a little bit of white for those lighter areas. I'm going to put one more squirt of purple in and see if that makes it any darker. Blurp. If you have too much paint, make another one. Yeah, that didn't darken it up too much, so my lavender areas are going to be lighter than this. Let me just check my reference real quick. Okay, so it looks like this is purple, this is purple, this is purple, this is purple, maybe a little bit of light purple there. This is lavender, 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 whoops, lavender, purple on this petal. And apparently purple here. That's okay, I'll come back and make that one lighter. And you can use your finger or a paper towel or a napkin to wipe off paint if you happen to get it in any areas where you don't want it. I've got like a water drip up there, I think. Okay, and then I have this one over here. Oh, I forgot a green part. That's actually like a little sepal, a little sort of leaf part that goes around, wraps around the bud. So this is lavender. I've got all my purple pieces done. And it looks like those are kind of super transparent, more transparent than I want them to be, and may require a second coat of paint after they dry the first time. So I want to get a nice thick coat on here the first time I do it. So hopefully I won't have to paint too much more. Okay, and then now I need a little bit of white. Okay, so here's my spoon again. Get a little bit of white in there. And before I rinse that off, I want to make sure that that changes the color enough. So maybe I can just do it on part of the paint so that I still have that darker color if I need it. So there's a little bit of lavender right on the side. And I'll do these other petals. And I think the white does actually make it a little bit more opaque. This little tip here was lavender too. And then this one over here, don't forget this flower again. It's also lavender. And then this part I need to go back and do green, so let me quickly do that. It's gonna be minty. Here's my mint. Oh yeah. Let me just go around and see if there's anything else that I can touch up with the mint or mix. Blue just does not want to. All right. Okay, and then I have this border all the way around, and also I can paint in the background behind the flowers if I want to. Just have to decide what color I want that to be. So I think I'll do this in sort of a purple around the outside edge there. And I haven't decided what to do in the background. Maybe some kind of blue. I'll have to play with that again too and see. And since the border is kind of a bigger area, I can use the larger brush for that. So I'll wash that off and dry it a little bit. And then come back to my darker purple and do a nice border here. Oh, and you can see how transparent that is. There's a lot of glue in there. If you're also getting this super, super transparent paint, you could also try adding less glue to your paint. And then you'll get some more of that color coming through. Oh, I managed to splash a little bit on there. I didn't think that the paint was that wet. Thought it was pretty sticky with the glue added to it. And just rub that off with my finger, hopefully. Yep. I did get some excess there. Well, and if you make a mistake with your marker, you can rub that off pretty easily with, I think it's rubbing alcohol that you can use to remove it from glass if you don't want mistakes to show up. I think I have a little dot right there that's from the marker that wasn't supposed to be. Okay, so we'll let that dry, and then I'll come back up and come back and touch up any areas that need it. Welcome back. I have been drying this for the last 40 minutes or so. It looks like it's still a little bit tacky in some places, but for the sake of this experiment, I'm going to forge ahead. I suggest that you let yours completely dry before you go back over and do your black leading lines. Like I said before, you can mix Mod Podge or glue with your black paint to make those lines. If you have a little bottle that you can put that in, like a squeeze bottle like this one, that might work really well for applying it. You can also use a brush if that's all that you happen to have, and that should work just fine. I actually found this paint in our craft supplies. It's 3D gloss enamel, so it should stand up kind of like, you know, have a 3D effect like the leading would if you were doing an actual stained glass. So I'm going to attempt to use this and see how it works. And I'm going to test it first since it's, I don't know how long we've had it. So just on my napkin here. And it is a little bit difficult to dispense, so I could have a big mess on my hands. We'll see how it goes. Alright, when you're doing this, you want to start in an area that's farthest away from you so that you don't like drag your hand or the paint into an area that you've already worked on and mess it up. So I'm going to start at the top here, and if you're using a bottle, you might need to support your arm and your hand when you're doing it. So let's see. It would help if I had the paint kind of up in the top here so I don't have to keep squeezing so hard. And then for this, since it's coming out kind of slowly, it's kind of like decorating a cake. The consistency of a gel or like a toothpaste going on here. And right now it looks like it's gray in color, so I'm hoping that that darkens up to a black. It does say that it's black on the bottle, so I am hopeful. And you can drag, if you're using a bottle like this, you can drag the tip of it through what you've put on there if it's just kind of beading up. Mine's making little beads instead of a straight line. So you could do that. You may need to get your finger in there to neaten it up at some point. Let's see. And then wipe it off so you don't drag it away. And I've got some right on the edge here. Okay, so so that's a slightly neater line. And try it here. This is actually working okay if I have it right down on the glass, the tip. It's actually coming out better. And, whoops, I shouldn't have come up there. Don't say that. It's not working better now. Okay. And then that part's just kind of messy. So I'm just moving it around with my finger a little bit. All right. And then I've got this inside part here. Again, right on the glass seems to be working really well. So that's another reason to want to have your paint dry so that you can do that and not mess up what you've painted. I'm going to come around the side of this leaf and do the inside here, following the lines that I drew before. And if there are any of those lines that I don't like, I can just ignore them and we can pretend they never ever existed. Okay, here's another line. Alright, so everybody got the idea? Alright, I'm going to finish doing the rest of this and then we will check back in. Okay, so I finished going around the whole piece and did all of my outlines. It came on pretty thick in some places, and then the bottle got stuck, so I had a few episodes where I had to clean out the nozzle. So hopefully your bottle experience, if you tried it, went a little bit more smoothly. I'm still trying to decide if I wanted to add lines. In the reference photo I have, there are different sections around this outside border, so I could add some extra lines, but I also might just make a big mess. And I have a little toothpick here to kind of move some of this paint around if I need to. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to help because it looks like it's drying already up here in the corner. So maybe not. Maybe we'll just let it dry and see how it looks when it's dry. But that is how mine has turned out. I hope yours looks great. Thanks for watching today. I hope you had fun with today's Teen Crafternoon and the faux stained glass and that your projects turned out great. If you liked what you saw, I hope that you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can look there and also on our website, on our events page, to find more fun, exciting things to do. Thanks for joining me.